Hello, this is Christian Okoye, former Kansas City Chiefs. You are listening to Grilling Truth.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of The Truth About Fantasy Football, the Grilling Truth's weekly fantasy football show, brought to you by Gridiron Mo, a new interactive football app that lets you pick what an offense or defense will do in a live NFL game and compete against others around the country. Check it out at gridironmo.com or also at thegrillingtruth.net. I'm your host for the Fantasy Football Show, Matt Andruscavage, and I'd like to welcome in my co-host, Aaron Zepnick. How's it going tonight?
Good evening, Matt. Good to be back. Can't wait to talk about our topic tonight.
Absolutely. And also, Oz Davis.
Hi. Well, I'm very glad to be here. I can't wait to hear what Aaron's got for us. He's promised us lots of good information. And I can't wait to tell you guys about my new favorite comedy TV show.
Perfect. I guess we got to have a fantasy TV show draft at some point. So.
Well, now that the league's not on the air anymore, you know, there is no official fantasy football show. But I've got a good one for you. Unfortunately, it's going to be over by the time the season starts.
Well, why don't you tell us what it is now, and then we can get right into our topic.
Let's go right off the rails, right from the beginning. It's this very funny show. It's on HBO. It just started like this week, a couple of days ago. It's called Hard Knocks. Have you ever heard of this?
I think a lot of people have heard of Hard Knocks.
Oh, see, I never heard of it before, but you know,
really?
This year they've got they're focusing on the Los Angeles Rams, and the unintentional humor on this show is already off the charts. Just fantastic.
Well, the cutting of Nick Foles was hilarious. If you've seen that.
Oh, you watched it?
I watched the clip. I lost it. I thought it was. Well, it felt very staged because I was trying to imagine this actually happening.
Show. Yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, so Jeff Fisher is sitting at his desk. He calls Nick Foles and says, "Hey, just checking in. How's your summer going? Yeah. By the way, we're going to cut you. And, thanks for everything you've done." It was just like, what? Millions of people are watching it. Like, this is staged. There's no way this is how they cut people. I'm picturing more like Charlie Sheen in Major League.
That's about as dumb as the guy bringing the girl into his dorm room and getting cut.
Right.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Because that's 7 and 9 bullshit. Can I say bullshit on the show? I just did. That's 7 and 9 bullshit, right? I guess this guy would know. I guess Jeff Fisher would know what that is, right?
Well,
I love that this. They won't. This was fantastic, but I got to tell you, one of the funniest things I think I've ever seen on TV. You must have watched the show, huh, Aaron? Did you see the show?
No, sir.
Oh, okay. I'm going to give away the best part, but it is so brilliant. I don't know who the editor is on the show, but it was amazing. Okay, so right at the beginning, you've got this montage, right? Because the plot line this season is going to be the Rams coming to Los Angeles, right? And fans discovering the NFL as though no one in California has ever heard of football, as though California doesn't have several teams already. And so they show, like, the players working out, and this is, like, mixed in with sunsets and stuff like this, right? And then they show some players running on the beach, right? And they have these girls, these sexy ladies in bikinis, and one of them does the, roll the sunglasses down the bridge of her nose thing, right? And then right after that, cut to Jeff Fisher standing there wearing sunglasses. It was amazing. It was amazing. It's like, what was that? It was incredible. This was in the first 5 minutes, and so the show had me laughing right from then. The Nick Foles thing is very early in the show. That's like by 8 minutes in or something. The whole thing is just filled with, hey, we're on reality TV. We're trying to get jobs in Hollywood. It was fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic. It was brilliant. I mean, I wasn't going to watch it because I must tell you guys, I hate TV. And if there's anything I hate more than TV, it's reality TV. But this thing is so funny. I think I'll go with it for a few more episodes at least. It's only going to run like 6 episodes.
Especially if it's running, it's running on your team. So, You know, that's
sure.
I'd probably watch it tonight.
I mean, I'm sure I'm going to get lots of brilliant insights, right? But I'll stick with it.
Well, you know
it's
how
nice
Jeff
to see
Fisher
Irvine
likes to cut
TV.
players. If you've ever wanted to know, now you know.
He's already shown 2 methods of doing so. Yep. In the office and on the phone. It's fantastic. Real insight into coaching.
That's what I've been doing wrong.
Right. See, I
Right.
was waiting for that.
Now you're ready to take your team to the top, Aaron.
I guess. I'm retired.
Well, we've got an action-packed show for you tonight. We're going to be talking about 3 very specific topics. First one, we're going to talk about fantasy busts and who not to draft, or at least draft very, very late. Let someone else pick these players. So, Aaron, I'm going to let you go first. It sounds like you had quite an action-packed night as you were preparing. So I know you're chomping at the bit to tell us your list.
I'm going to sound very hypocritical with my first guy because I had him in my top 12. I would draft him just because of the upside, but a guy that I will probably stay away from is Cam Newton. In the first round, a lot of people will be tempted to pick him, and I don't feel comfortable using my first pick on a quarterback that can't throw the ball consistently out of the pocket. And I see too much inconsistency with his play. I mean, I think Denver exposed him last year in the Super Bowl, and I think more teams are going to try to come after him the way they did. Now, not everybody has the talent of Denver and what their defense had last year, obviously, but the off the field, the persona, the way he's questioned, I have no problem with it. Have fun, young man. Go out there and show your talents, do what you do. But I just think that he's in for a letdown season. I don't think he'll be a bust per se, but I don't think I would draft him in the first round. Some other notable quarterbacks that I will stay away from: Matt Ryan, Eli Manning, Andy Dalton, for you, Mike Goodpaster, and Matt Stafford. I don't believe that any of them will have as good of a year as some other guys that are on my sleeper list. Eddie Lacy at the running back position, moving on. Eddie Lacy, Isaiah Crowell, Lamar Miller. I shared my sentiments about how I had him one time before, and he single-handedly cost me the playoffs, so I will never pick Lamar Miller. With the youth of the offense and the Doug Peterson era in Philly, I would stay away from Ryan Matthews and any receiver until at least I see that, you know, they have a quarterback that can handle the NFL and get the ball in their hands. A guy off Philly that I would take in retrospect is Zach Ertz. Rookie quarterbacks historically lean on their tight end quite a bit. So I think that's a good thing for people that are thinking about a Zach Ertz pick, mid-rounds, 5th through 8th round. But I would stay away from Chris Johnson, Andre Ellington, because I think David Johnson kind of picked that starter role. I think he's going to be a beast there. Charles Sims is another guy I would stay away from. I think Doug Martin had a really good year, and he'll own the carries there. As far as receivers, I'm staying away from Dem Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, and I'm actually staying away from any Lions receiver this year because all brand new with continuity other than Golden Tate, but I'm just not a big Golden Tate fan. And another receiver was Alshon Jeffrey. Now with this Kevin White, everybody's going to double cover Alshon Jeffrey. He's going to get the Calvin Johnson treatment, so to speak, with Jay Cutler throwing at quarterback. I do not trust that situation whatsoever. Yep.
And another new offensive coordinator.
Absolutely. Tight end position, Tyler Eifert being banged up, I'll stay away from him. I'll stay away from Jordan Reed, believe it or not. A lot of people think he's a top 3 tight end this year, top 4. I would pick 3 tight ends for sure over him, being Gronk, Kelsey, and Olsen. and I would even consider taking Coby Fleener over Jordan Reed. I just do not see him staying healthy. That's been his Achilles heel, is he's always injury prone. I've had him twice, hasn't really been that great for me, and I would just stay away from him. And a lot of my staying away from comes from being scorned from players in the past, which may be unfair.
There's something to be said about that.
Yeah, and I think if you get screwed once, it's shame on you. You get screwed twice, it's shame on me. So that's my list to stay away from.
Well, that's a pretty sizable list.
I was just going to say, well, that's the show for this week. Join us next week.
Thank you, Aaron, for covering every player.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But there was a couple of guys. I'm going to address a couple of the guys that you named. Cam Newton, I do agree that he concerns me. I've been considering in one of my leagues, if he's available, if I've got a top pick, and I can get Cam Newton because of what I've already got as my keeper, I think I'm considering pulling the trigger. But I am concerned because I do think Cam Newton is a bit overrated. I think he's a front runner. I think he is really great when everything is just rolling. But the moment he gets in a pressure situation, it basically happened twice last year, the Atlanta game and the Super Bowl, and they lost both games. You get him in a close game, you get him with his back against the wall, he usually doesn't perform. And so I am concerned this year that they just won't be rolling quite the way that they did last year. But then again, they could. So I don't know that he is not worth taking, but I'm concerned. So I agree with you there. Another guy from Carolina.
I want to get in. I want to get in here if I may, because you guys are talking about Cam Newton as a first-round pick. Where do you have him in your quarterback list?
Well, he's listed generally as the number one fantasy quarterback.
Yeah, but you guys
in most leaderboards.
I have him number 2 behind Rodgers.
His upside is probably going to get. He's probably going to get more points than Rodgers.
Okay.
If he has a year like last year, he scored 10 touchdowns on the ground last year.
Right.
He's ridiculous when he's on, but I just don't know if he's going to be that on again.
Well, what you guys are saying is high risk, high reward, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, possibly.
Isn't Luck or Rodgers a more stable pick for your quarterback if you have your choice? Yeah. See, that
depends.
Rodgers is the safest pick.
Right. See, that's what I've been thinking all along. Is that I'm going to let somebody take Newton off the board if they want to go with him in the first round. Sure. I mean, there's still 2 top 3 quarterbacks left, right?
Well, Matt said, his rushing yards and his rushing touchdowns are appealing, but that also can lead to more chances of injury, like I said in previous shows with Antonio Brown returning punts. I just don't like that type of situation. Ask Michael Vick how running the ball turns out for quarterbacks.
Right.
It definitely can be bad.
You have to assume that inertia does set in. Sorry, go ahead.
Eventually that injury's coming. I mean, you ask Michael Vick, you ask RG3. I mean, guys that are happy or look to run, that's when you're most open to getting hit. And, you got 5 guys there to protect you in the pocket. When you get out and run, it's you and a defender. These guys, they're not going to be just coming up to shove you out of bounds. These guys are going to be coming up to drill him this year. And, yeah, he's a big man, but I mean, most of the guys in the NFL now are big men.
Do we know who's going to be at left tackle in Carolina? Do we know who's going to be on that left side?
I do not.
Okay. Because
it's a good question.
Oher was out there for last season, and he was up and down. So, that could also have an effect. But another thing I was thinking is that, look, in a best-case scenario, Newton plays all 16 games. He's just not going to do as well on the ground this year as he did last year, I think. I think eventually inertia sets in. And the truth is that, especially quarterbacks get slower and slower every year. I just happen to think so. I just happen to think that's the trend. So I think even in the best case scenario, he's not going to score 10 touchdowns on the ground this year.
Probably not. I would have to agree that it's probably best to just let somebody else take him.
Yeah.
You may regret it later, but he's not as a safe pick as probably – because I think Andrew Luck's offensive line is going to be better this year. So Luck and Rodgers are probably the safest picks, like you were saying, Aaron. I also even Drew Brees. But, Rodgers, it's one of those things. You have to decide how risky you like to play it. But, yeah, you probably are better off letting Cam Newton slide in the first round. Maybe if he's there in the second round, do you pick him, Aaron?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too.
Michael Harris is still listed as a left tackle on Carolina's depth chart, just for argument's sake.
Well, another Carolina Panther that I would stay away from is Jonathan Stewart. I think he maxed out last year. I think he had a really good season. I think he really opened things up for the passing game. I don't think he's going to repeat it. I just don't. I think he's going to eventually at some point start slowing down. I mean, he didn't crack 1,000 yards last year. I think he's a good back. I think he's a guy that you take. You don't use him as your RB2 or your RB1. If you can get him later as an RB3, pull the trigger. But I would shy away from Jonathan Stewart.
Yeah, that's a good call, I think.
A couple other guys you named, Demaryius Thomas. Demaryius Thomas is a perennial top 5 wide receiver. I don't think there's too many people that are going to disagree that his numbers are probably going to decline this year, whether it's Paxton Lynch, whether it's Mark Sanchez, and I think they've got another quarterback that's in the mix. But I just can't imagine Sanders or Thomas putting anything close to what they've put up the last few years. I would take Demaryius Thomas if he fell to the 6th round. I would not take him early at all. Let somebody else draft him. Don't bother with Denver's receivers this year.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Mm-hmm. He won't make it to the 6th round, but you can just sit back and laugh at that person. Because
I disagree on Jordan Reed. I watched him enough last year. I didn't have him on my team. Someone else had him, but I watched him enough. I think he's really coming into his own. I like Greg Olsen a lot. I like Gronk a lot. Kelsey is very good talent-wise, but to me, the Alex Smith factor, the way Kansas City's offense has been lately, I realize that he's probably his primary target, but that doesn't help matters. I would rather have Jordan Reed in a situation, but I understand what you're saying, especially with the injury factor. But I really do like Jordan Reed. I think he's going to be he could be the number 1 tight end in the NFC this year. I do like Greg Olsen a lot, though, too. I would not take Kobe Fleener over Jordan Reed, but that's my opinion.
I just think Kirk Cousins with Deshaun Jackson and Pierre Garçon, and they got some young talent there at receiver, and then Matt Jones out of the backfield. Jordan Reed is a huge third down guy. He gets looked at a lot on third down, but first and second down, it's like he's almost forgotten. And I don't know if it was just last year, if they're going to change their outlook, change the way they do things, but I just don't think – I think Jordan Reed's a tight end that you could have 0 or 1 for 2-3 weeks in a row, and then you could have 17. There's some good upside, but I don't like Jordan Reed.
Fair enough. I'm trying to think, there was another guy that you mentioned that jumped out at me. Yeah, Chris Johnson. I would be leery of. I think David Johnson takes over the reins in Arizona. The quarterback, Matt Stafford, was very high on my list of guys I would not bother with.
Oh, wow.
Like you said, Golden Tate. I think Golden Tate you could get later. I think Golden Tate will probably be similar to last year. He had a good season. I had him in both my leagues last year. That he was solid. They have Marvin Jones, and now they have Anquan Bolden. I don't think either of those guys are going to gobble up all the receptions. And now with Eric Ebron out for the year, I think Golden Tate is the guy that gets the bulk of the targets. But I would not be comfortable with Matt Stafford out there as my quarterback.
No.
I agree.
That's a good call.
So those were some of the guys that I had. Did you have anybody else that you're going to really try to avoid?
I kind of approach this in a slightly different way. I can talk about individual players in just a moment, but one of the things that I do before draft, and I should really study if this works sometime, is there are certain teams that I stay away from altogether. Certain teams whose offenses in particular are going to have problems in the upcoming season. So that writes off a lot of players. The one that I would be very skeptical about that was brought up was Zach Ertz. One of the teams that I think is going to take a big dive this year is the Eagles. I don't like anybody on the Eagles. I think there's way too much transition there. I mean, who are they losing? They're losing Kiko Alonso, Riley Cooper, Brian Maxwell. You know, all these guys are gone. Apparently, the news today is that, who is it? Lane Johnson, at right tackle. Supposedly he's going to miss 10 games. The starting left tackle, Jason Peters, he's going to be out for the start of the season at least. This is a team in sick shape. I'm not going to take any of them and be patient. If somebody stands out from this lot, maybe I'll pick them off the waiver wire and sit them off my bench. But I'm staying away from all Eagles, basically, on offense. Another one is the Bears. We dropped this before, dropped a mention of this before. I'm no way am I going to take Jay Cutler. I'd probably go with the Sandtrax before I went with Jay Cutler. But I mean, there's so many reasons not to take up any Bears, least among them the new offensive coordinator. I was looking at this guy's resume today. Let's see. So his most recent jobs, he was Titans offensive coordinator in 12 and 13, followed by being the Browns quarterback coach in 2014, and then the Bears quarterback coach last year. So I'm not too impressed with this guy's resume. And if you want one other reason not to take any Bears, here's their week 3 through 6 schedule. They've got at Dallas, at home against the Lions, at the Colts, at home against the Jaguars, at Green Bay, and at home against Minnesota. So I figure this team's going to be about 1-8 to start the season. I really don't expect any numbers out of them at all. And, of course, the other team I'm staying away from in general is just the Titans, including DeMarco Murray. I don't want DeMarco Murray anywhere near my team unless he's on the team I'm facing that week. I think that dude's done, at least in the medium term. The one red flag in terms of individual players that I have is Alshon Jeffrey. I think he's going to go a lot higher than he should. And, again, I just really don't expect any offense out of Chicago at all, which means that we probably won't get anything out of Chicago because the defense isn't that great either. As far as other players to avoid, I usually make a list of these first-round, second-round temptations that I might want to take, and so I just, it's like quitting smoking. You just have to remove yourself from the environment in which it's in. So I'm not going to go anywhere near a couple of guys who I think are very overrated and instead adapt my draft strategy to that. I'm not going to pick up Odell Beckham if he's there, and I won't pick up Jamal Charles either. I think Jamal Charles especially, he's going to have a drop-off. I was looking at his numbers today. So let's see, what is it? He had 750 total carries between 12 and 14, and he's coming back from an ACL injury. I'm not expecting numbers that we have seen from Jamal Charles in the past for Jamal Charles this season. And don't you think that Shandarik West is going to steal some of his numbers there?
Hard to say on that one. If Charles is healthy and he can get on a roll, He's the offense there, even more so than Kelsey. The whole offense goes through Jamal Charles. He gets the carries, and Alex Smith loves to dump the ball off to him.
And you're not thinking running back by committee or anything like that? Because
I'm not saying they won't. I think they'll get Chardandrick West involved. But if Jamal Charles is healthy, he's going to get – I think he runs for 1,200 yards this year if he's healthy at least. And he'll probably score 13 times combined at least from rushing and passing. He gets the ball that much. It's just a matter of will he stay healthy.
We'll see. I mean, I don't know. Charles I'm a bit leery of because his fantasy reputation exceeds his actual production a little bit. I mean, the only season in which he had double-digit touchdowns was in, 2013? I mean,
well, again, though, he's been missing games. If he's out there, his 16-game totals are really, really good, but that's been his problem. If he's healthy, he is the offense in Kansas City. Every time I watch
too big of an if. That's just too big of an if for me right now.
Right, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying
I would stay away.
I don't know that I would totally avoid him, but I can understand being a little concerned about his health. No question. Every site you go on, there's a red cross next to his name.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
What I would say, fellas, is if I can intervene here, I would take Ezekiel Elliott before I'd take Jamal Charles this year.
Yes.
After just listening to you guys talk, after reading things, after the health issues over the years, I think the young guy that is running behind a massive offensive line is a little bit more trustworthy than the guy that's coming back from an ACL tear and injuries, and his health is in question. And that offense, let's face it, they don't have a lot of weapons at receiver.
Very low watt.
Just Macklin. That's it.
Macklin, and I'm not sure that Alex Smith can consistently get Macklin and Kelsey the ball to alleviate guys from putting 8 in the box. And I don't like Kansas City's offensive philosophy, to be honest with you.
No, I don't either.
So
not for fantasy. For sure not for fantasy.
That's for sure.
Jamal Charles has to be on his game and healthy for that to work, and it's a big risk. But yeah, I mean, Ezekiel Elliott, the more I'm looking at it, yeah, I'm very concerned about taking a first round flyer on him. I mean, any guy that has never touched the ball, I don't know if I want to use my first round pick, but I can see why people are going to do it. I'm just not sure if I personally want to do that.
Well, you would do it if 1, 2, 3, 4 is running back, which could happen. That's when Elliott goes in the first round. Is if everybody else.
I'm starting to. The more I'm going through these rosters, to me it looks like there's just a couple of running back studs, and there's a lot of mid-range guys. I mean, C.J. Anderson.
Yeah, there's like 4 studs.
Lamar Miller. Right? Yeah, I mean, it used to be, 8 to 10 studs, and then a couple of mid guys, and then a giant drop. Now there's a bunch of mid-round guys. Like even like we were talking about the Bears. Now I think even Bear fans are just dying for John Fox to call Jay Cutler and ask him how his summer was, and then fire him. But since that's probably not going to happen, one guy that I think that might be all right this year is Jeremy Langford. I don't know if he's going to get the Matt Forte production, but he's a guy that you could probably pick in the 5th round, and he'd probably get something out of him.
Wow. Yeah, probably even lower.
Yeah, he's a good value pick for mid-round.
Yeah, that's actually not bad. I may have.
But I think there's several guys like that. There seems to be several guys that you could probably get in the 5th round more so than in past drafts. Now, it's hit or miss. You could pick Derrick Henry from the Titans in the 5th round. He may not do much at all for you, but on the other hand, he could get a lot of touches. There's a lot of potential value picks in the mid rounds, but a number of them are probably not going to pan out just because of, it's a risk.
Yeah, but see, this is the kind of thing I was talking about before. I would not go with him because I don't think Tennessee is ever going to be playing with a lead. I don't think he's ever gonna. I don't think they're ever gonna run the ball.
This is true. You're playing with a running back that you're counting on them getting dump off passes in the fourth quarter when they're down instead of
right. So again,
if you're not in a PPR league,
low
don't draft
on
a Tennessee
offense,
running
I'm
back.
just going to stay away from. I don't want any part of low stat guys. It's just like I'd rather take the risk. So.
Where do you guys think Larry Fitzgerald and Carson Palmer fit into this? Because both had very good years last year. Both are older, but is this the year where they drop off?
It's amazing that you said that, Matt, because I actually thought about putting both of them on my stay away from list. I really did, and John Brown too, for that matter. I don't know if he's an up and coming or if he was a flash in the pan, but I know that I wasn't high on him last year, and then I wish I would have had him.
Right.
I think Larry Fitzgerald is a third round pick. Someone will pick him in the third round, just not me.
Third round's a little high for me.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I can't imagine taking
that.
Fitzgerald in the third round.
No.
I could see the fifth.
There's a lot of good receivers out there. There's a lot of good receivers out there. A lot less risky than that. A lot less risky than that. So.
Where does Carson Palmer fit? I mean, is he just one of these guys that you're going to wait till the 6th, 7th round as the draft strategy that we've talked about and just see if he falls to you, or do you target him?
If he falls to me in the 9th or 10th round, I might take him. But, again, there's so many. I think there's more quarterbacks this year in the first 10 rounds than any other position other than wide receiver. But I would take Carson Palmer as my backup quarterback in later rounds, but I wouldn't take him as a starter.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's probably about right.
He could eventually become your starter, but that's almost like a flyer.
With my luck, he'll probably be my starter by the end of the year because with injuries, I can never keep a quarterback healthy, it seems like.
Can you draft pretty much every quarterback from the NFC West, if that's the case, except for my Niners? Just draft Russell Wilson?
I'll take Russell Wilson, yeah.
So another tight end, I don't know if you guys have any other guys that you want to talk about, but a guy that I just remembered, stay away from Jimmy Graham. Don't buy it. He is not in the offense that caters to him the way he was in New Orleans. I think they'll use him. They'll probably use him to win. They'll win games, but for fantasy, don't expect Jimmy Graham to be the big red zone. He's not going to be the Gronk of the NFC. He just won't do it in Seattle. They're going to be looking elsewhere. I just don't see Jimmy Graham becoming anything close to what he was again in New Orleans. I just would not draft.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
So then this bears a question for another topic that we wanted to talk about with the suspension of Le'Veon Bell. I know that I'm sure there's a lot of people doing mock drafts out there. I've tried to piece together a little bit of where I think people in my league are going to draft him. And to be honest with you, I don't really know what to do with him. My poor wife, she has Le'Veon Bell as a potential keeper. She's got the 3rd overall pick, but if she keeps Le'Veon Bell, she loses her 1st round pick. Is Le'Veon Bell worth that number 3 pick, or does she just keep somebody else and maybe try to get him in the 2nd round? I honestly don't know where.
If I'm in that position, I say you drop him and you go after a Gurley, Johnson, or Antonio Brown. You can trade him for his teammate, basically.
Yeah, and she'll have to determine. She has to find out what the other keepers are. If those guys, to me, if 3 guys like that are available, you drop them, or if he's the best available from the guys that are keepers, maybe you keep him. But yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I think you'd go with somebody else. To me, is he projected? Where would you guys project him? Late first round, early second round?
Yes. Where I project him is probably late second, early third, because of the 4-game suspension. Where I think he'll get drafted in all of my drafts is late first, early second.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not taking a guy in the first round that I can't count on for 4 weeks, and actually 5 with the bye week. That's almost 40% of the games that he'll be out.
Yeah.
Or your weeks that you're playing in the 14-week season. If you're in a 14-week season like I am, if a guy's out 5 weeks, that could be, pressure that you have to go 8-1 or 9-0 to make the playoffs.
Right.
Because if you're 0-5 in the 5 weeks that you miss out on your first pick, you're in trouble.
Yep.
Yeah, but you like Brady. You like picking up Brady
later.
Yeah.
I would surround Brady with 4 receivers and running backs that I pick in the top 4 rounds, and I would take Brady in the 5th or 6th round, and then I would probably go quarterback right afterwards, so that I had a guy that I was okay with, a Tannehill or anybody basically that can get you the average points in a week from a quarterback, and then when he comes back, you get a huge boost, hopefully, and you're averaging 10 more points out of your quarterback position. So
yeah, I think so. I think Tom Brady is fine because you can draft a quarterback right after that. If you draft Le'Veon Bell in the first round, your odds of getting someone at that talent level later is just not the same. You can't survive. I just don't know if you can survive with D'Angelo Williams this year. I really, you're going to have to get a guy like.
In response to that question, Oz, if Brady's playing every game this year, he's a top 3 quarterback.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
If Bell's playing this year, he's a top 3 running back, if not the top running back.
Okay. Right. But you're losing, like what you said, you're losing 4 out of 14 games.
Right. So would anyone
plus
in the
maybe
right
a bye
mind taking Brady in the first or second round?
No.
Why would you take Bell? I mean, they're splitting out the same amount of games. That's what I'm saying.
We've discussed this too. I mean, difference between quarterbacks 1 and 10, or 1 and 11, even if you want to include Stafford, which we probably don't, is lesser, right? So you'll be able to get a quality backup quarterback, but it's like Matt just said. I mean, you're not going to get another player of Le'Veon Bell's quality.
Exactly.
Not in the second or third round. They're all going to go early.
I mean, I think this is a bit off topic, but I think here's your strategy if you draft Brady. You look at, the mid-range quarterback to quote unquote back him up, who's got an easy schedule in weeks 1 through 4. Right?
Yeah.
I mean that's who your backup quote unquote is for Brady. But in this case, Le'Veon Bell. Look, okay, let's say you draft Le'Veon Bell in the second round. In a snake draft with a 12-team draft, do you take him at 13?
If I do that, I'm taking the best available running back there with him.
Mm-hmm. At 12.
At 12. I probably wouldn't. I'd probably go receiver, running back, or receiver maybe, and then take. It depends who goes in the first 11 picks, I guess.
Right.
And who I'm drafting with. If I think I can get, a good running back on the way back, when next time it comes around, because that's 24 picks. I'm counting guys, and I'm going, okay, so would I be okay with having Julio Jones and A.J. Green, and then coming back and going, yeah, I could take, a Thomas Rawls and a Mark Ingram or whatever. I'm counting guys, and I'm saying, okay, is there any way these guys get back to me? And then you're kind of taking the draft, and you're hoping that more receivers and quarterbacks get picked by the time it gets back to you. Who's going to get picked for sure in these next 2 rounds? So
yeah, that's
I
kind of
guess
a tough
that's the way I
spot.
would go.
If you're drafting last at the bottom of a 12-man league, I just don't see how you can take Le'Veon Bell. You got to take the highest talent of.
Yeah, like I said, I'm probably not. Just because I think at 12 you could take, a top 5 receiver that fell to you, or you could take one of the best quarterbacks, Rodgers or Newton, and you could take Gronk.
Yeah.
I would take Gronk before I would take Bell. If I'm sitting at 12 and 13, I'm trying to get the best 2 players there.
Yeah, I think that's what you have to do. You have to go top players on the board at spots 10 through 12.
Okay.
Absolutely. And so the easiest schedule, 1 through 4, who do the Rams play the first 4 weeks, Oz?
Well, I know Seattle's the opener.
Oh, boy.
No,
yeah, exactly.
The opener.
Exactly. So the Rams are not a good place to be looking, I think, for that backup quarterback. And I'm not sure.
No, I don't think that's what he was saying.
But rather.
So I want to take Russell Wilson, but.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, game 1 should be okay. I mean, the Rams' defense is good, but opening day, I don't think so. I'm still trying to call up the schedule here.
Now, you open against the Niners.
Yeah, open against the Niners. Week 2 is against
That's Monday night.
And then week 3 is Buccaneers, and then week 4 is Cardinals at Phoenix. Geez, 3 out of the first 4 are away games. I thought everybody was excited about football in Los Angeles. Well, this is a tangent.
Eventually they will be.
They will be in December when they're at home instead of playing, somewhere in the cold.
This is true.
Right.
This is true.
So then moving on to another topic, we were going to talk about a few sleepers. One guy that I think is a good sleeper is Dorial Green-Beckham out of Tennessee. I think, like we were talking about before, Tennessee is probably not going to be playing with a lead a lot. I think Mariota is going to be throwing a lot more, and Delaney Walker and Dorial Green-Beckham are going to get a lot of targets. I think Delaney Walker turned a lot of heads last year. I liked him a lot when he played for my Niners and knew he would do pretty well. It was pretty cool to see him catch near 100 balls because he's got a lot of talent and he's very underrated. But now I think he's not going to fly under the radar anymore. I think people list him as pretty much a top 5 tight end. But Dorial Green-Beckham, I think, is underrated, will fly under the radar, especially with the amount of receivers that there are. And with them probably playing from behind in a lot of games, you're probably going to be going long, and he could be getting a number of passes thrown his way. I'd look for him.
Yeah, I'm with Oz on this one. I wouldn't touch Tennessee receiver. But I do like Delaney Walker. And, going back to my point about Zach Ertz, Mariota was a rookie last year. Look what Delaney Walker did.
Yeah.
That's why I think that Zach Ertz may have a big year this year because of the fact that he's going to be counted on from the rookie quarterback.
Yeah, probably a lot of short passes. Zach Ertz is a big target potential.
Especially with a banged-up O-line.
Yeah. Be looking to get that ball out pretty fast.
My super sleeper that I'm very proud of finding this out, I actually have to give credit to one of my former players, posted something on Facebook and is from the same town as him in North Carolina. This man was actually the starting running back at Georgia over Todd Gurley. And Keith Marshall is his name from the Redskins. And I think
that name, okay.
Keith Marshall. And he's ranked like 73rd or something for running backs in one of the things I've seen. But super sleeper is kind of like Oz's shot that he called on Farrell Cooper. I'm going to call my shot with Keith Marshall. You take him 12th to late rounds if he's there in your draft. I think if he gets one opening to show what he can do, if Matt Jones fumbles, if Matt Jones doesn't run the rock real well in Washington, I think he could be the starting back there, and I don't think he'll ever relinquish it except for injury. He was a sure All-American at Georgia until he got hurt, and he was actually the starter. Todd Gurley, stepped in and took over with the misfortune of him getting hurt. But I think that people will be pleasantly surprised with Keith Marshall this year.
Yeah, I think I did hear a little blurb about the uncertainty at running back in Washington. Another guy I heard. Now I should have had this guy on a piece of paper right here, but I can't remember his name. But the guy, I think he's the rookie running back who's going to start behind, at this point, Latavius Murray in Oakland. I can't remember his name, but there is talk that he could get a significant amount of carries in Oakland. I wish I could remember. I'm sure maybe one of you guys can look him up real quick. Also, there's another running back in Chicago who could potentially steal carries from Jeremy Langford. That's another potential sleeper. I think Sammy Coates is mentioned a lot. I don't think he's going to fly under the radar. I think there's a lot of attention on him, kind of like the way Allen Robinson was everybody's favorite sleeper last year. I think that'll be Sammy Coates out of Pittsburgh. I've been hearing
good things about Coates. Coates is an intriguing pick.
He's going to be good. He's going to be real good.
Yeah.
My big sleeper of the year, I don't know that he's as obscure as your guys. I think you guys actually have obscure names to go with the talent that you're talking about with Farrell Cooper and is it Keith Marshall? But
yes, Keith Marshall.
I think people are going to forget about Deion Lewis out of New England. I would draft him. I
won't forget about
him. He caught 50 balls last year, and and I think he missed half the year. He's going to get the ball a ton.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Solid running back. He averaged almost 5 yards a carry, and he got 50 balls. I think if he's healthy, he's going to be a guy that flies under the radar, and he's going to, in a PPR league, he's the guy you want as your second running back or third.
The name that you were looking for before is DeAndre Washington, but I want you to tell me what you heard. I want you to tell me what you heard about DeAndre in relation to Latavius Murray, because I'm counting on Latavius this season.
I heard that he's going to challenge. He's going to challenge Murray for carries.
Wow.
I mean, that was. I think I heard that a couple weeks ago. Maybe something's changed in the last 2 weeks, but that might be a name to keep in mind.
Well, DeAndre Washington's ranked 40th as far as running backs on ESPN's top fantasy by position. So he's higher up even than Keith Marshall. But I didn't get a chance to give you my wide receivers here. Two guys, we talked about Sterling Shepard in the first show that I did with you guys, and the other guy that I think that has really come into his own and I think is going to be a top target for Joe Flacco is Kamar Aiken. Not a lot of people talk about him. I think he's going to have a big year. There's no one else in his way now. It's him and that Perryman, and I think he's going to be the main guy there. But I think that's all I had for receivers.
I wouldn't count out Steve Smith Sr. completely, just because he's kind of a nut. But obviously, I mean, this is it for him. This is his last year.
I think Steve Smith's going to go through what Donald Driver went through in his last year. I think he's going to get. This is the year that he kind of fades out.
It's certainly possible. I do like the Ben Watson move. I don't know if he'll have quite the year that he had last year, but I think he's a decent tight end. But yeah, I think the Baltimore receivers, Aiken, he could be a guy that catches 60 balls out there.
Yeah, and I think he's going to catch 100 balls and have double-digit touchdowns.
100? Wow.
Yep.
Well, then you better draft him in our Grueling Truth League.
Yeah, I was just going to say. I know
you think he's getting 100 catches, you better be all over that.
Say between 90 and 100 catches and 10 or more touchdowns. They don't have a lot of weapons, and Justin Forsett's had a lot of carries in the last couple of years for them. I don't see how he doesn't get a lot of targets and a lot of balls. I really don't.
Sure.
So
Any
as far
other
as
sleepers?
Tight end sleepers, I have Martellus Bennett.
Of course. Yeah.
I've been raving about him, and Oz, I know you agree that with Gronk getting a lot of attention, Martellus Bennett played with Jay Cutler, and he was putting up darn good fantasy numbers. So,
and you want to talk about rookie quarterbacks? You want to talk about rookie quarterbacks leaning on tight ends? Okay, technically Garoppolo is not a rookie, but he didn't play a heck of a lot last year. He's got like 2 top tight ends. How many passes do you think these guys are going to get? I mean, I think in week 1, Martellus Bennett is an awesome start. I think he's going to surprise people. I think he's going to get a lot of targets. I think he's going to score a touchdown or 2. Right now, I'll project that. I think Bennett's a great pick at tight end.
And I think you'll be able to get him late.
Yes, you will. You will.
Yeah, I think he will.
He's not going to be. The problem with Bennett is, and it's the problem with any time you draft a receiver or a tight end out of New England besides Gronk, is that you don't know in which weeks they're going to go to him. Right? You don't know. You can't count on him every week to have a great game. But again, if we go with the rubric of the rookie quarterback, those first 4 games, he's going to be a viable start. You're at least going to question starting him, at least. He may be your number 2 tight end, but that's a great pick, I think, in the early part of the season with Garoppolo in there.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
I think that Belichick is so smart that he's going to know how to utilize both of them. And you have Julian Edelman that'll get a lot of targets and Deion Lewis, but in the red zone, they're so notorious for going to their tight ends. I mean, look back to when Hernandez was playing. I can count how many touchdowns I watched with those 2 tight ends in. And even last year with Scott Chandler, they used Scott Chandler more as like a decoy, but he was a big red zone target. They actually went to him in the red zone quite a bit. He just didn't get the catches that they were trying to execute because of the fact that he didn't have the ability that Martellus Bennett or Gronk have.
Yeah. I mean, Bennett is basically a Pro Bowl tight end going to play with the best tight end in football on a team that really knows how to utilize tight ends. He's going to have a good year.
And I think that's like a dream come true. It's almost like Brady getting suspended for 4 games, cut off their leg, and then they got Martellus Bennett, and it's like it was a tourniquet put on for Garoppolo.
No, they got like the cybernetic leg, right? They just replaced it. It's even better now.
Small legs.
Yeah, exactly. They're slowly putting together Darth Vader. Right. And Belichick is the Dark Emperor.
But quarterback sleepers, guys, I have a ton that I'd be fine rolling with as my starter that I'll wait till late if I have to, or if I can. Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota. Phillip Rivers is a mid-round guy. A lot of guys in my league actually really like Phillip Rivers, so I don't think he'll go as late as what he will maybe in your league, Matt. But Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, Blake Bortles, Colin Kaepernick, and Colin Kaepernick. I think all those guys would be late-round picks. And I think Blake Bortles will probably be the earliest of all of them as far as picking. But I'd be fine with rolling with them. I would take them over the guys, most of the guys that I listed them I stay away from.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, the list of the guys you stay away from, the guys like, the Alex Smiths, the Jay Cutlers, the Matt Staffords, I'd be comfortable taking all the guys you mentioned over them. Not a problem. I think Jameis Winston is he's a lot better than I thought he was going to be. I was pretty sure Mariota was going to be good. I was really not sure about Jameis Winston. To me, the way he kind of carried himself and the way he kind of came in, I was like, oh, I just saw Jamarcus Russell all over again. But he really played well last year. And they've got Mike Evans.
Yeah.
Doug Martin continues to run the ball. He could take another step and improve upon last year. He's a big guy to run, and fantasy-wise, he's not a bad guy to have. And you could get him, like you said, very late.
See, he's the guy Jamarcus Russell was supposed to be.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah, he's a large guy, can run. He's not like super quick, but he can run. He has the mobility. He has the smarts. That's who Jamarcus was supposed to be. It's just the Raiders drafted him like 10 years too early.
I don't know if he has the smarts. Did you see the actually when we finally get on to our website to do the fantasy draft or the fantasy league, you'll see my picture is of Jameis Winston signing his autograph to a kid. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but look it up if you can. It's a funny moment. Jameis Winston was signing an autograph for a kid, and he spelled his name wrong, and he just crossed it out on the picture.
Oh.
That's actually my picture on Flea Flicker. I think it's hilarious.
Okay, so
painful.
I didn't necessarily mean like real life smarts. I just meant like on field smarts. I mean, we know the man's illustrious college career. We know about his off field stuff already. Wasn't really talking about that. You don't get minus fantasy points for stuff like that, do you?
No, but it was just a funny thing I had to share. I know you're talking about football IQ and stuff, but it was just hilarious. Somebody pointed it out to me, and I was like, I'm making that my picture on the fantasy thing.
I'm going to go with Smoking Jay Cutler. You guys ever seen that site?
Yeah.
Smoking Jay Cutler? No.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Basically, if you've ever seen Jay Cutler on the sidelines or at practice, he has the most I don't care look of anybody I've ever seen in my life. And so what this website does is they put they just Photoshop a cigarette in every picture of him. And it just fits. He looks like he's just sitting there smoking a cigarette and not caring about anything. So it's SmokingJayCutler.com. It's hilarious.
Nice.
And he's making more money than all of us at the Grueling Truth put together.
Yeah, but it's product placement, right?
Yeah. Hey, I don't know if you guys have to run or if we're getting close here on time, but I wanted to ask you about something else.
Yeah.
What about good, clean, creative fantasy football team names? What are some of the best ones you've heard, or maybe they don't have to be so clean, but for our listeners, I just thought, do we have any ideas on fantasy football clever names?
I went with fake play sheets when that whole thing came out about they're putting fake play sheets in the locker rooms for Belichick to steal. I went with that. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones I saw. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it's dirty, but Beats by Ray. Went for Ray Rice.
Oh,
yeah.
Is one I heard.
Ouch.
Yeah, that's a rough one.
There's the Waco Flacco Flame. There's the Will Fork for Food.
That's a good one.
Le'Veon Prayer is actually one of my team names. I saw it somewhere and I liked it.
I'm jealous.
a guy in our league had AP's Daycare as his name. But yeah, I didn't know if you guys had heard.
It's got to be something. The best ones are the ones that involve a player's name and a pun on
Well,
that.
yeah, like Watney Whip, Watney JJ, something like that I heard.
Crimea Rivers.
Yeah, Crimea Rivers.
There we go.
The Bold and the Beautiful.
Yeah.
See, the best one we had in my Canadian Fantasy League last year was, or in a Canadian Fantasy League, was the Deflatriots. I like that one.
Yeah.
That was sublime. That was sublime, yeah. I don't know
how graphic we can be. I'd tell you my team name for this year, but I don't know if I can say it on air.
Oh, my God, in the Grueling Truth League?
After Oz's comments, you're probably fine.
my ball, Zach Ertz.
Oh, gosh. Oh, man. Oh, that's awful. Jesus. Oof. Very memorable.
Yeah, there's other ones. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones I've heard, but yeah, the ones that have a play on a player's name.
Yeah, has to.
Yeah, there's some good ones. I'm looking some here. Dez does Dallas. Show me your TDs.
Ooh, okay.
That's a good one. Big old Bortles.
See, I was
my wife's is Brady Gaga.
Brady Gaga.
That's pretty good. Wow.
That is good.
Nice one. See, I was thinking about if I can land Amari Cooper, who actually is, I'm going to bring this back a little bit, actually is one of my sleeper picks. And here's why. I don't think he's surprising anybody, but I'm seeing all these lists. I'm looking at a list right now. I think it's Fox Sports. They've got him at number 26 overall. They've got him as the 13th best wide receiver. Really? I think he's one of the most underrated players in this draft. But anyway, yeah. I was thinking if I could get Amari Cooper, because I know I'm going to get Pharaoh Cooper, I was thinking about hanging with the Coopers as a team.
There you go.
Yeah, it's a bit cheesy. It's a bit cheesy, but at least I'm referencing a player. So.
That's like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Yeah, right. I like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
You could do you can run, but you can't hide.
Hang with the Coopers, yeah. See, if you got both the Rogers, it could be Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Well, that's something we can do for future parts of the show. Anytime you come up with a good name, we'll be sure to mention it.
I don't know, it's gonna be tough to beat my ball, Zach Ertz. That's I think the best and the worst one I've ever heard at the same time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you and fuck you, right?
We are Brandon Marshall.
What's that?
We are Brandon Marshall. Like we are Marshall, but
right.
That was We Are Marshall Falk 10 years ago, right?
Yeah. Somewhere over Dwayne Bowe.
Oh, God.
Dwayne Bowe, yeah.
Tell me you're not just coming up with this stuff off the top of your head.
Turn your head in Coughlin.
Oh, God. Oh, my God.
Yeah, there's websites that are just devoted to this. You can get
it's hilarious. Some of these on here, it's like, who needs something to do?
Who needs something to do?
Well, does anybody else have anything before we close up shop for tonight?
No, I think we brought it to a standstill just fine.
Perfect. Well, everyone, be sure to check out all the articles on the grillingtruth.net. We got CFL, fantasy, NFL preview, baseball, boxing. Be sure to check all that out on the grillingtruth.net. Check us out on our Facebook page. There's going to be a boxing show, baseball show. We're going to be starting up our team shows. Our 49ers show is going to be on Monday following the preseason game. I know a Bengals show is coming up. Aaron, you guys are starting the Packers show pretty soon. And so be sure to check all that out on Spreaker, Stitcher, Google Play, iTunes, iHeart. Anywhere you can hear podcasts, you can find us, Grilling Truth. So we'll be doing another fantasy show next week. We'll cover other topics to help you in your draft. Be sure to tweet us at Grilling Truth or message us on our Facebook page if you have anything that you'd like us to cover. We'll be happy to do that. So for Oz Davis, Aaron Zepnick, I'm Matt Andruscavage. You've been listening to the Grilling Truth Weekly Fantasy Football Show, where the legends speak.